Welcome to Portugal Property Insider, brought to you by the expert team at Private Luxury Collection. If you're thinking about buying, investing, or relocating to Portugal, especially the Algarve, you're in the right place. We cut through the noise to bring you straight-talking insights on luxury real estate, legal updates, market trends, and everything you need to make smart property decisions from abroad. Whether you're a first-time buyer, a seasoned investor, or simply dreaming of a life in the sun, this is your trusted guide to navigating Portugal's high-end property market, one conversation at a time.
Welcome to Portugal Property Insider, the podcast that unpacks the real estate market in Portugal for international buyers and serious investors, without the fluff, the jargon, or those rosy fairy tale filters. I'm Lorraine Hodges, part of the team at Private Luxury Collection. We work right here on the ground in the Algarve, across Portugal's most desirable locations, helping buyers from all over the world navigate the buying process with confidence, clarity, and yes, a touch of luxury. Today's episode is part of our myth-busting series where we separate fact from fiction in the Portuguese property market. And this one is a common misconception that catches many buyers off guard. You must have a Portuguese NIF and bank account before you can even make an offer. Spoiler alert, that's simply not true. And believing it could delay your purchase unnecessarily, or worse, cause you to miss out on the perfect property. Let's break down the reality. What is a NIF and bank account actually for? A NIF is your Número de Identificação Fiscal, your Portuguese tax identification number. Think of it as your unique ID for almost any financial or legal activity in Portugal. A bank account is, well, it's a bank account. But here in Portugal, it's also the standard way to pay taxes, manage utility bills, and eventually make payments for your property. They both sound pretty fundamental, and they are. But here's the part most agents might not tell you. You don't need either of them just to view properties. You don't need either of them to make an offer. And in some cases, you can even get as far as signing a promissory contract before you've got them fully in place, especially if you're buying in cash. So why the confusion? And why is this such a common myth? Well, like most things in Portugal, the specific timing and process matter far more than just the rules on paper. Understanding when each is truly required is key. So, what is required at each stage of the buying journey? To really understand this, let's break down the property buying process step by step, and I'll tell you exactly when those two pieces of paperwork actually come into play. First, during your property search and offer stage, when you're still browsing, speaking to agents, doing virtual tours, or flying in for viewings, you simply don't need a NIF or a bank account, period. In fact, we often recommend that clients wait until they are serious about a particular property or area. Otherwise, you could be spending time and money obtaining documents too early in that process. That said, if you're working with a buying advisor or relocation specialist, they might help you get a NIF early on to save time later. But it's not legally required just to engage within the market. Now let's say you've found the one and you're ready to make an offer. Guess what? Still no NIF or bank account needed. An offer in Portugal isn't a binding contract. It's a proposal. The agent or your advisor communicates your terms to the seller and you begin negotiations. At this stage, you're simply showing intent, and that's perfectly sufficient. The next critical step is the promissory contract, or CPCB. Here's where it starts to get real. This is a legally binding contract signed between buyer and seller, typically with an initial 10% deposit. To sign the CPCV, your lawyer will ideally want your NIF in place because it will be included on the contract. However, if you're a cash buyer and you're working with a proactive legal team, you may actually be able to sign this contract under power of attorney while your NIF is still being processed. As for the Portuguese bank account, it's not required at this point unless the seller specifically insists the deposit is made from a local bank. Most don't. A pro tip here. You can often wire the deposit directly from your home country using a specialist currency broker. It's typically faster, cheaper, and avoids Portuguese bank bureaucracy at this early stage. Finally, we reach the final deed, or escritura. This is the finish line. To complete the purchase and officially register the property in your name, you must have a NIF. That's non-negotiable. The tax office absolutely needs it for the property register and the payment of the IMT, the transfer tax. As for the bank account, if you're buying in cash and all your payments have been made by international transfer, technically you might not need one just for the deed. But, and it's a big but, if you plan to get utilities in your name, set up direct debits for insurance or other services, or pay your annual property tax easily, then a local account will make your life a lot easier. In fact, some utility providers will actually demand it. And, of course, if you're getting a mortgage, then yes, a Portuguese bank account is mandatory, and it will be required much earlier in the process by your bank. So, if a NIF and bank account aren't always required up front, when should you actually sort them out to make the process smoother and more efficient? Here's our advice, based on helping dozens of international buyers each year. Get your NIF early, but not too early. You can actually obtain a NIF remotely via a power of attorney given to your lawyer or a tax representative, and it typically takes just 1 to 2 weeks to process. Our advice, don't get one before you seriously engage with the market. That is, before you're certain you're moving forward with a purchase in Portugal. But definitely get it before you sign anything legally binding, like that promissory contract. We usually recommend clients start the NIF process once they've narrowed their search to a short list of specific areas or properties they're genuinely interested in. Open your bank account strategically. Opening a bank account as a non-resident in Portugal is certainly doable, but it's not always a quick process. You'll typically need your ID, proof of address, tax residency documents, and often a Portuguese fiscal representative if you're not an EU resident. With some banks now offer digital onboarding, many still require an in-person visit, which can be tricky if you're not in the country. That's why we usually advise timing this around the promissory contract stage, not before. And we often suggest using a broker or relocation consultant who already has established relationships with the banks. This can significantly cut out weeks of waiting and paperwork hassle. Let's talk about what not to do based on common errors we see. Don't assume you can act without paperwork already in hand. We've unfortunately seen buyers lose out on their dream properties because they thought they had to wait for a NIF to make even an offer. In Portugal's competitive market, that kind of delay is often a recipe for regret. Don't open a bank account blindly. Some banks will freeze accounts if they're opened too far in advance and then remain unused for long periods. Others will nickel and dime you with unexpected fees. Do your research or get advice to know exactly what kind of account you're getting into. And don't go it alone. The paperwork isn't rocket science on its own, but the correct sequence of steps and understanding the local norms truly matters. Having a trusted buying advisor or specialised lawyer who understands these nuances is key to a smooth process. So let's quickly recap on the key points. You generally don't need a NIF or Portuguese bank account to start looking for property, to make offers, or in some cases, even to sign preliminary contracts. You will definitely need a NIF by the time you sign the final deed and take ownership. And a Portuguese bank account is highly practical for living here, but it's only mandatory for the purchase if you're getting a mortgage, or once you officially take ownership for utilities and ongoing payments. The ultimate takeaway: get expert help and don't assume the rules are black and white. The process can be flexible when navigated correctly. If you're planning a property purchase in Portugal and want a clear, custom roadmap that avoids these common pitfalls, reach out to us at Private Luxury Collection. We work exclusively with international buyers and offer bespoke guidance from the initial search stage all the way to getting the keys in your hand. Book a one-to-one clarity call at privateluxurycollection.com. This has been Portugal Property Insider. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.